A properly maintained Class 8 truck engine goes 750,000 to a million miles before it needs a major overhaul. Your car gets scrapped at 150,000, same fuel, same roads, same physics, and the drivers doing the million miles are working under rules so strict that breaking some of them costs $15,846 a time. Some of them $45,000. Today I'm going through 15 of those rules. Some exist because the thing is dangerous. Some exist because it's too effective, and almost every one of them has a completely legal version you can do in your own driveway. The version that gets a normal car past 400,000 miles instead of dying at a fraction of it. Number one is the single thing separating a truck that's finished at 300,000 from one still working at a million. It takes 60 seconds a day, and nobody does it. Here's the thing that makes trucking worth stealing from. For you, your car is a cost. For a trucker, the truck is the entire business. And a truck that's in a shop isn't earning. That single difference rewrites everything about how these machines get looked after. It means maintenance happens before failure, not after. It means the driver inspects the vehicle every single day by law and writes it down. It means fluids get changed on condition, not on a sticker. And it means an engine that would be scrapped in a passenger car gets rebuilt and keeps going because the arithmetic still works. 15 things. Number 15, leaving the engine running all night. Truckers do it to stay alive in the cold and keep the sleeper warm, and a lot of places have made it illegal. Anti-idling laws run right across the country, aimed squarely at diesel vehicles over 10,000 pounds. New Jersey, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. cut you off at 3 minutes. California, New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and a string of others give you 5. And the fines are real. $300 in California, $250 for a first offense in New Jersey, $500 in D.C. And it doubles every time after that. Now, those are hundreds of dollars, not the $10,000 in the title. We'll get to those. But it tells you how tightly this industry is regulated. A driver can be fined for keeping himself warm, but here's the part that applies to your car, and it's the opposite of what everyone assumes. People think idling is what wrecks an engine. It isn't, really. What actually wrecks engines is the short trip. 5 minutes to the shop's engine never reaches full operating temperature, and every one of those trips leaves unburnt fuel washing past the rings and diluting your oil. Do that twice a day for a year, and your oil isn't oil anymore. It's a fuel-thinned soup that can't hold a film. That's why truckers care about warm-up and truckers' engines last. The legal version for you: on cold mornings, don't sit on the drive for 10 minutes. Drive gently until the temperature gauge comes up. And if almost all your driving is short hops, cut your oil change interval. Number 14, the walkaround. This isn't optional in trucking. Federal rules require a driver to inspect the vehicle and record it, and skipping it or falsifying it is a serious violation that can put both the driver and the truck out of service on the spot. And it's not ceremony. The driver walks the whole vehicle looking for leaks under it, checks lights, checks tires, checks that nothing's hanging down. It takes a few minutes, and it is the single highest return maintenance act in the entire industry, because it catches things while they're still cheap. Your version costs 60 seconds. Once a week, walk around your car, look at the ground under where it was parked. That's how you find a leak months before a warning light. Look at all 4 tires. Turn the lights on and walk around it once. That's it. Almost every expensive failure on a car sends a small, visible signal first, and almost nobody is looking. Number 13, tire pressure checked before every run. On a truck, this is a legal inspection item, and an underinflated tire at highway speed and full load is how you get those long strips of rubber all over the shoulder of the interstate. Now, we've covered pressure on this channel before, so I'll keep this to the part truckers do differently. They check cold, they check every time, and they check against the spec for the load they're carrying, not a number they remember. Your version, the correct pressure for your car, is on the sticker in the driver's door jamb. It is not the number molded into the tire sidewall. That's the tire's maximum, not your car's target. Check it cold before you drive, once a month. Underinflation runs the sidewalls hot, kills your fuel economy, and wears the edges off a set of tires in half the miles they should have done. Number 12, coasting downhill in neutral. Old drivers used to do it to save fuel, and here's the thing most people genuinely don't know. It is written into the vehicle code as illegal in more than 40 states. Not just for trucks, for you too. California spells it out in Section 21710. In South Dakota, it's a misdemeanor. Only a handful of states have no rule against it at all. For commercial vehicles, it's taken even more seriously because a loaded truck in neutral on a grade is a runaway with no engine holding it back. And here's what people miss. On a modern car, it doesn't even save fuel. When you lift off in gear, the engine management cuts fuel to the injectors almost entirely as the wheels are turning the engine, so it doesn't need any. Drop into neutral and the engine has to idle, which means it's now burning fuel to stay running. So coasting in neutral is illegal in places, gives up your engine braking and your ability to accelerate out of trouble, and uses more fuel than just leaving it in gear. Nothing to steal here. This one's the trick truckers stopped using. Number 11, engine braking. On a big diesel, this is the Jake brake, and it's the loud staccato bark you hear when a truck comes down a hill. It's not the brakes, it's the engine being turned into an air compressor to slow the truck down without touching the service brakes at all. It is genuinely banned in a great many towns, and you've seen the signs. Not because it's dangerous, because it's loud, and truckers use it anyway wherever it's legal for one reason. Brakes fade when they get hot and engines don't. A long descent on friction, brakes alone is how you get a runaway. Engine braking does the work for free, and the brakes stay cold for when you actually need them. Your version is entirely legal, and almost nobody does it. Coming down a long hill, don't ride the brake pedal. Shift down. Even in an automatic, most cars will let you select a lower gear or hold a lower one with the paddles or the gate. Let the engine hold the car. Your brakes stay cool, your pads and rotors last dramatically longer, and you don't arrive at the bottom of the hill with a soft pedal. Number 10, never running below a quarter of a tank. This is fleet doctrine, and it's partly about not getting stranded with a load, but mostly it's about the hardware. Two mechanisms. First, on most cars, your fuel pump lives inside the tank, submerged, and it uses the fuel around it as its coolant. Run the tank near empty regularly, and that pump spends its life running hot and uncovered, and hot pumps die early. Second, anything that settles out of fuel, sediment, water, rust from an older tank, sits in the bottom. Run it low often enough, and you're feeding the bottom of the tank straight into your filter and injectors. There's a third one people forget. An almost empty tank has a large air space, and air carries moisture that condenses on the inside as temperatures swing. Keep it above a quarter, it costs nothing. The fuel isn't more expensive, you're just buying it sooner. Number 9. This is the one that'll change how you think about maintenance. Serious fleets do not change oil at a number on the odometer. They send a sample to a lab. An oil analysis comes back with the wear metals in it: iron, copper, aluminum, chrome, plus fuel dilution, coolant contamination, soot, and how much additive package is left. And that report tells you two enormous things: whether the oil is actually finished and whether the engine is quietly wearing somewhere. Rising copper means bearings. Coolant in the oil means a head gasket long before it strands you. It's a blood test for your engine. For a car owner, this is genuinely accessible. Analysis kits are cheap. You draw a sample when you drain and you post it. And the reason it beats the sticker on your windscreen is that your interval depends entirely on how you drive. Short, cold trips destroy oil far faster than motorway miles. The sticker doesn't know that. The lab does. Number 8, never shutting down a hot turbo. Watch a driver pull into a stop after a hard pull, and they'll often sit for a moment before killing the engine. That's not habit. That's the turbo. A turbocharger spins at speeds that are hard to picture, and it rides on a film of engine oil. When you shut the engine off, the oil pump stops instantly, but the turbo is still red hot and still spinning down. The oil sitting in that bearing housing now has nothing moving it and a lot of heat going into it, and it cooks. Literally bakes into hard carbon, called coking. Do it enough, and that carbon blocks the oil feed, and the next turbo failure isn't a mystery. It's a bill. Here's why this matters far more than it used to. Turbos aren't exotic anymore. Half the small family cars sold today have one, and almost nobody driving them knows this. The version for you. If you've just come off a motorway or worked the engine hard, give it 30 seconds to a minute at idle before you switch off. Pulling into a driveway after Gentletown driving, don't worry about it. Number 7. Progressive shifting. In trucking, it's a fuel technique. Get up through the gears early, keep the engine at low revs, and use torque instead of speed. Over 1,000,000 miles, the fuel saving is enormous, and fleets train for it. The engine life side is where it gets interesting for us. Every component in an engine wears as a function of how many times it cycles. Have your average revs on a given journey, and you've roughly halved the number of times every piston, ring, valve, and bearing has gone round. That is real. Cumulative wear, you simply never do. But there's a limit, and it's the one people get wrong. There's a difference between low revs and lugging. Bogging the engine down under heavy load at very low revs where you get high cylinder pressure at low oil film speed. That's harmful, not helpful. The trucker's version is shift up early, but if you need to accelerate, change down rather than flooring it in too high a gear. Low revs when cruising, not low revs when working. Number 6, the logbook, and this is where the numbers in the title start getting serious. Commercial operators are required to keep records, and falsifying them is not a slap on the wrist. Knowing falsification of a record of duty status runs $15,846 per entry. Egregious and willful violations go up to $16,000, and a straight hours of service violation can cost the carrier $19,246, one violation per entry. So a driver who tidied up a week of logs isn't looking at one fine, he's looking at a stack of them. The regulation exists because paperwork is the only way anyone can prove a truck was safe. But fleets keep records well beyond what the law demands, because the log is a diagnostic tool in its own right. When you can see that you've added coolant 3 times in 8 months, that's not 3 small top-ups. That's a leak, and you found it on paper before it found you on a hard shoulder. Your version is a notebook in the glove box or a note on your phone. Date, mileage, what was done, what it cost. 2 lines. It'll tell you when something's drifting, it'll stop you paying for the same service twice, and when you sell the car a complete service, history is worth genuine money to the next buyer. Number 5, weight. And this is where the fines get properly serious. Trucks run over scales because axle and gross weight limits are enforced, and overweight penalties are commonly assessed by how far over you are. So a badly loaded truck can generate a very large ticket in a single stop. The limits exist because weight is what destroys road surfaces and bridges, but the same physics is chewing up private vehicles constantly and nobody's checking. Your car has a maximum weight too. It's on that same door jamb sticker, and it includes the passengers, the fuel, the roof box, and everything in the boot. Overload it, and everything works harder. The springs, the dampers, the wheel bearings, the brakes, and the tire, which is the dangerous one because an overloaded tire runs hot, and heat is what makes tires fail. Towing is where people cross the line without ever thinking about it. Look up your car's numbers once. Most people have genuinely never seen them. Number 4, and this is the biggest number in the whole video. Modern diesels have a full emissions system, the particulate filter, the catalyst, the exhaust fluid dosing. It's expensive, it needs maintenance, and when it goes wrong, it can put a truck off the road. So there has always been a black market in deleting it. Here's the scale of it. Under the Clean Air Act, the civil penalty runs up to $45,268 per non-compliant vehicle or engine, $4,500 for every single tampering event or sale of a defeat device, and $45,000 a day for the record-keeping violations on top. Now, I want to be accurate about where this stands right now because it shifted during 2026. The Justice Department dropped its pending criminal cases over diesel defeat device tampering, and pardons went out to people who had already been convicted. So the criminal side has gone quiet, but, and this is the part people are getting wrong, the tampering ban is still law, and the civil penalties are still in force. A pardon doesn't erase a civil penalty, and it doesn't make it legal to sell a defeat device tomorrow. And I'm including it for a reason that protects you directly, because this reaches ordinary buyers. If you're buying a used diesel, a pickup, a van, an SUV, there is a real chance somebody already did this to it. A deleted vehicle can fail an emissions test, can be very expensive to put back to standard, and can leave you holding something you can't legally register. Check the emissions hardware is physically there. Check for a tuner or a reflashed ECU. And if the seller offers up that it's deleted and tuned like it's a feature, walk away. Number 3, following distance. A truck needs a huge distance to stop, so professional drivers hold a gap that seems absurd to everyone around them. And they hold it while cars dive into it all day long. The reason to steal this isn't just safety, though. It's obviously that. It's that a big gap means you almost never brake hard. When you can see far enough ahead, you lift off early and let the car slow itself, instead of standing on the pedal every time the traffic bunches. Do that for years, and your brake pads, your rotors, your tires, and your fuel bill are all dramatically better off. And your transmission spends its life doing gentle changes instead of violent ones. Truckers call it a space cushion, and the honest summary is that it's the cheapest performance upgrade there is. It costs nothing, it fits every car, and it makes the whole machine last longer. Number 2, using your tires as a diagnostic instrument. On a truck, tires are one of the biggest running costs, so drivers learn to read wear patterns the way a doctor reads a chart, because the pattern tells you what's wrong somewhere else on the vehicle. Worn on both outer edges, center fine. It's been running underinflated. Worn down the middle only, overinflated. Worn on one edge alone, that's your alignment. Camber, out of spec. Feathered, where the edge of each tread block is sharp on one side and rounded on the other. That's toe, and you can feel it with your palm before you can see it. Cupped or scalloped in patches, worn dampers, or a suspension bushing, letting the wheel bounce. None of that requires a tool. Run your hand across the tread, front and back, once a month. A tire is the only part of your car that writes down what the rest of the car has been doing to it. Number 1, everything in this video comes down to this, and it is the entire reason a truck runs 1,000,000 miles and a car gets scrapped at 150,000. Trucking fixes things while they are still small, not because truckers are more diligent than you, because for them, a breakdown costs a day's earnings, plus a recovery, plus a load that didn't arrive. So a weep from a hose gets a new hose this week while it's a hose. A slight vibration gets investigated now while it's a bearing and not a hub. In a private car, the incentive is exactly backwards. A small leak isn't costing you anything yet, so it waits. The noise is annoying, but the car still goes, so it waits, and every one of those small, cheap, early problems is quietly being upgraded into a large, expensive, late one. That's it. That's the whole difference. Not exotic maintenance, not special oil. Just acting on the small signal instead of waiting for the big one, which brings it right back to number 14, the walkaround. 60 seconds, once a week, looking at the ground under your car and around all 4 corners. That is the habit that feeds everything else on this list, and it's the one thing separating a car that dies young from one that keeps going long after everyone expected it to stop. If you got something out of this, hit subscribe. That's genuinely what decides whether videos like this keep getting made. And this week, do the walk around. 60 seconds before you drive. Look under it. Look at all 4 tires. Walk around it with the lights on. Truckers are made to do it by law every single day, and it's the reason their engines outlive ours by a factor of 5. Nobody's making you. That's the only difference.